My name is Mathieu Lehanneur. I'm a designer, even if I do not really know what this job means. And I'm based in Paris, from where I'm talking to you. And I'm super happy to get this conversation with you. Basically, I started my journey to design quite randomly, because when I was about 20, I firstly started to study art, and I spent, I would say, maybe 5-6 months in art school. And I'm very quick discovered that it wouldn't be the right place for me, because actually I didn't want it to stay in my workshop alone in front of my canvas or stone or whatever the medium I would use as an artist, but I wanted to be more involved in the society, more involved in a type of ecosystem. So as a designer, even if I didn't really know what this job means, but for me, my intuitions were that probably in this job, I would be more in the middle of this world, middle of the clients, the industry, the factories, the markets, the financial markets, so everything. And I was thinking that maybe it would be more relevant for me to be in that location. So, and at the end, I spent 7 years, quite long actually, in a design school. And just after school, I started to work as independent, because even after school, I didn't want it to work for another designer, because I was pretty sure that it's already quite difficult to convince a client or brands to invest on you, to invest on tools to produce what you have created. So I was thinking that it's going to be hard to convince my final clients. So if I have one more client between me and my final client, that would be another designer, that would be my boss actually, I would spend too much energy. So I said, okay, let's forget again to get any boss, and let's try to do it by my own. It was long. It was quite difficult and tough. I spent long weeks and months and almost years in my room with my desk just close to my bed. But it was a nice journey so far. I always thought that designers are sometimes, or often, or maybe always, very conservative. And I discovered that the rest of the world is already quite open to let designers investigating new fields, investigating new form, new way of working. And designers themselves, and it's pretty weird that quite often decide to become a specialist in one field. That might be packaging, that might be graphic design, that might be furniture, that might be whatever. And for me, the best interest of being a designer is avoid to become a specialist, or at least just being a specialist of human being, trying to understand what is a human being, physically, brainly, culturally, and use every tool you can use every knowledge you can get, use every materials you can provide to bring a solution. Maybe it's not the perfect solution, maybe it's even not the best solution, but proposing always something. All of them get, for any reason, they need to express something, and they are not able to express it in relational way. like all the human beings are able to do. A non-creator is able to express his idea, his wishes by talking, by explaining to the relatives. The creator, because there is probably a lack of something, is incapable to do that in a normal way. So he needs to build something physically to express what he wants to say. And after that, for me, the good creators or the good designers are probably the ones who are able to continuously say, okay, I've got an idea, I can create something, but I decide to not to make it. The good creator is the one who decides to say no to most of the ideas. Because the easiest way is as soon as an idea arrives, we make it without any filter. The good one, this is what I'm trying to become, always stop making many filters and throw away most of the ideas, most of the wishes, most of the messages. You know, I am the youngest of a large family. I got 6 brothers and sisters. So as the youngest one, you have to imagine that during the dinner around the table with my father, my mother, my sisters and brothers, as the youngest, basically, I was not allowed to talk, or at least just talk if you have something interesting to say. Yeah, you know what? We love you, but you are youngest one. So let's the good person talk. And the good person is the one that is supposed to be older than you. So probably this idea of you do not have something enough interesting to say, keep silence. And that's okay. That's okay. It's not a big deal. So for me, the creator or the good creator is the one who are able to keep silence and just talk when they have something that they feel it might be interesting to say or to show. Quite often, you know, the title in my work arrives very soon in the process. I heard many times that sometime for the writers, the novelists, they write the book, they write the story, and after that, they spend time to think what could be the best title. In my way, it's more as soon as the first wish or intuition or sometimes idea arrive, a title arrives very quick after that. It's one of the very first steps in the project. And more than that, the title is always help me to give me a kind of direction for the project. And by this idea of inventory of life, it's a way to clearly express that is not my point of view. It's not my subjectivity. It's not my style. It's not basically what I'm thinking. It's just an inventory. So it just consists by selecting things in the world, as people who make inventory can do, and making a kind of collection of things and to propose them to the public. So I finally decided to keep this title because it was giving, in my opinion, the right distance as I wanted to express. And compare maybe to an artist, when we were talking about, discussing about the artist's position, the artist it's mainly willing to give his own interpretation of things. And I love the fact, as a scientist could do, as an anthropologist could do, as a scientist basically could do, to keep a kind of distance and to, of course, selecting the thing we want to show, of course, making some experience, but providing things. This installation, this exhibition started with the project State of the World initially. And State of the World starts almost 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was attending a conference. I do not remember from who, but it was a demographer, I guess, or a guy who was working on economics. And during the conference and during the slideshow, he was discussing about the age pyramid and explaining for any different country the evolution of population, thanks to this graphic and well-known graphic for this type of scientists and researchers. And I was discovering at this time that this graphic that I knew it before at this conference, but I discovered at this moment the huge emotional potential of this graphic, because it was giving a kind of overview of a country, but at the same time, an overview of the past of this country in terms of history, and an overview, of course, of the present of this country, and also of the future. And more than that, it was giving a global view of a country, but I can see myself. If I see the pyramid of France, I'm based in France, I can see me, basically. So I was absolutely wanted to work from this graphics. So the inventory of life starts with this idea of transforming this graphic information, this statistic and graphic information into an object that, of course, as any object, give you or offer you a more attractive potential. Graphic things, because it's two-dimensional, it's something that brings information, but do not really invite you to touch it, to be closer, to touch it, to everything that in our primitive way, when we are kids and newborn, the first thing we want to do is touching it. So the project starts with State of the World, and State of the World, I firstly made few of them, 5 to 10 countries, and recently during the lockdown, and during this very turning point in our human history, I was thinking that, okay, this is the right moment that we don't know, no one of us know what the future will be, but it's important to get a clear overview of what the world is right now. And I want to feel, I want to see all the people who are living in this planet right now. So with my team and during the lockdown, we worked very hardly to gather all the information from UN about all the single graphic data from every single countries, more or less 2,000 countries. 200 countries, and turn into object made out aluminum. And just after the lockdown, we installed the installation in Basel for Design Miami Art Basel for the very first time. And after that, I've been invited by Triennale in Milano to expose this project. And I was thinking that, okay, I can reinstall it as it was in Basel, but I would prefer to add something more. So the State of the World project, finally, I've been included in a bigger installation, including different and new installations that talked about different topics, but in the same way of inventory and going from the information to emotion. So for me, this installation is just like a way to say that basically we are overwhelming by millions and billions of information all day long, continuously. By conscience or unconsciously, but in newspaper, in online, in TV, and blah, blah, blah. So we receive many information. And the more we receive information, the more I feel we become cold and distant, and everything becomes super abstract. Okay, 10 people have been killed. Okay, Thank you for being here. There is a war here, there's a pandemic there. Look at the graphs, look at the statistics, look at the figure. Okay. So I wanted to freeze basically this moment for a while and just selecting information that couldn't be say there are not truths because they're super factual information and coming from, in my opinion, and the main population opinions, super relevant and official way, and trying to say, just select few information and try to give them a new form, a new way to basically break this type of ice layers that there is more and more between us deeply and the rest of the world. The first layer, the one here at the bottom, is all the kids who are 1 year old who are living right now. The second layer is the kids who are 2 years old living right now, etc., etc. And the top is the people who are 100 years old right now. So this is all the living population in a country. And every single layer is just one age, from 1 to 100. And the more the diameter of each layer is wide, the more it means the number of people of this age is big. So in this type of shape is a kind of common silhouette that you can see in a lot of sub-Saharan African countries, for example. When you get a many, it means basically the main parts of the population is people who are under 20. Basically, it would mean that. And the more a country become rich with an infrastructure in the country, with good sanitary condition and everything, the more the shape become, as I explained, a cylinder. And at the opposite, if there is some countries where you can see that the living population become more and more whole. There is no pyramid like that, but some pyramid, it's not this strictly, but more or less like this. Basically, it means that the main part of the population in a country, it's a case in Japan, for example, is population from 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And it's interesting because you can see the country, when you see that and you understand that, you can see the country in two different ways. You can see that, okay, poor country, it's super difficult because it means that the young generation, it will be hard to live long for obvious reasons. And at the opposite country like Japan or even Italy, it means that there is a lot of old people because the living conditions are good to live. But you can see also in a different way that, yes, of course, but you can be more optimistic with a shape like the one I show you because you can feel the energy of the youth. You can feel that, okay, probably the present is not so easy. Probably the past were super tough. But maybe the energy contains into the youth, will bring many things. And at the opposite, some country rich and old, maybe we can start to become pessimistic with this one. So it's interesting to see that there is always different way to see that. In France, we call about the empty glass, the mid-empty glass, or it depends on the way you see the life, on the optimistic way or the pessimistic way. The way that those installations have been received and perceived was super emotional for me. Because, you know, I'm working since almost 20 years So I have experimented and made many different things. But frankly, this is the very first time in my career that when I was explaining a project to visitors that didn't know them personally, they were let me know, oh my God, I got goosebumps, and I can notice tiny tears. So, and even we were not discussing about bad news. We were just discussing about, for state of the world, for example, you are in the middle of all the, about 100 different pyramids with this type of beautiful but abstract shapes, black shapes, and I was just explaining the idea behind it, and people were just experiencing the fact that they were in the middle of the world, and they were just experiencing the fact that they were alive and in the middle of millions and billions of other people alive at the same time. It's super simple. It's super simple. And probably if you close your eyes and you try to concentrate, maybe you can feel that. But as you know, in our daily life, we never think about that. I never think about the fact that, okay, I'm alive, and basically I was not supposed to be alive. Because in terms of statistics, we talk about statistics, and even during the conception between my father and my mother, there was a very few chance for me to be alive. And after that, to being able to raise, to live, I'm 47, to keep living, it's always a kind of miracle. And I never think about that. So if there is a message, to answer the previous question, if there is a message, is just, okay, whatever, if we are optimistic or pessimistic, the question is basically we are alive, and it is already a miracle. So do what you want with that. So for that, it was a super good experience so far. When I wanted to talk about the level of happiness, it was just after I was working on the State of the World project. And State of the World, when you see the different silhouettes, it's in 2 seconds, you are able to see if it is basically a rich country or a poor country. So basically, it's in just by the silhouette, and even if you do not have read the name of the country, you can easily know if it's comfortable to live in that country or not. Because according to the shape, the more the shape is like this, the more it means that basically you have many kids, but the country, for any reason, is not able to make those kids living long. So they will, due to sanitary or economic reason, they will not live in a very long life. At the opposite, if you see the USA, France, Japan, you can see shape that is more like a cylinder. Basically, it means that every newborn will be able to live up to 60, 70, 80, 90, sometimes more. So when I wanted to talk about the happiness, I just wanted to check, even for myself, if this level of comfort is in a way linked to the level of happiness. And I discovered that it's not. Of course, it's not the opposite, or the perfect opposite. But in the first 20 countries where the rate of suicide is higher, you will find France, you will find USA, you will find Belgium, you will find Sweden. You will find basically many countries where the life is quite supposed to be materially quite easy to live in, because of every infrastructure and ecosystem of the country itself. And at the opposite, you can see the very small holes. It means the very lowest level of suicide. You're going to see, for example, a sub-Saharan country. You're going to see Colombia. You're going to see, for example, France and Cuba. It's roughly exactly the same rate of suicide. I live in France. I know a bit Cuba. Of course, it's easier to live in France than in Cuba for obvious reasons. So I don't know why this is not the opposite, but not perfectly linked. I don't know why. And for me, it's not, if I would be a teacher, if I would be a professor, if I would be a scientist, I would spend time to explain why. It's for different reasons. It might be culturally, it might be due to religion, maybe. Me, I don't want to give any message from that. I just want to let people, according to their knowledge, according to their willing to know more about the country, according to the question they want to wonder, to do that. And in Milano, it was super interesting to see people. Many people came twice, 3 times, 4 times, sometimes 5 times. Many visitors arrived alone the first day and came the day after with the husband or wife, and 2 days after with kids. And it was super interesting because for the first day, me or my team were explaining the installation, but the day after, the visitor explained to their relatives. And they took themselves the position of the professor, the teacher, look, and this and blah. And for me, this is a success. Whatever the media success, whatever the financial success, whatever. The success is that. The success is when you produce something that is always an object. You know, it's not living. It's just an object, something, just a thing. And when you feel that this thing is able to live by its own, because the thing I have produced basically doesn't need me anymore. They can live by their own because the people who see them will be able to become the ambassador of it. And it's something super satisfying, actually. And for me, it is a super good surprise because, frankly, the day before we opened the exhibition and all the months before, I was not comfortable.
Why?
Because you arrive with installation that is absolutely not linked with furniture and salone del mobile.
Right.
So you arrive in the center of the furniture world with a proposition that is the opposite of furniture. You are talking about things that sometimes I was thinking people do not want to hear about that. So I didn't arrive super confident. It was the opposite of that. And the first people who arrive and you feel that they start to be engaged and they talk about the emotion they feel and they bring you information because sometimes they were asking me, but what happened in Namibia in this moment of the history? Because in Pyramid, you can see something happen at this moment. And I explained it. Frankly, I don't know. And sometimes people provide information to me because they said, I know Namibia since a long time. And I think at this moment, because it was a new government and things occurred. And it's super interesting when the project is not basically complete during the exhibition. It's just the first step of the project because people will bring new information, it will enrich and will help me to maybe think about new things for the future. Yes, basically this one was a piece about the statistics themselves, because some statistic could be, of course, absolutely sure, but they talk about the present. The level of happiness, we talk about the present. The level of population, we talk about the present. But in some statistic and forecast, we have to accept nowadays that we have no idea about what the future will be. So I wanted to find out some information that at the same moment, it means right now, different people and at the same level of intelligence, at the same level of smartness, and could say and could predict different things. And for that, we brought information about what will be the level of seas and ocean in 2100. So it seems to be far, but it's not so far away. Our kids will live this. So I wanted to check if the future could remain predictable. And I took three actually. The current level of ocean, and it was just 2 black stripes to express on this luminous light the current level of ocean. One other mark about the forecast from the IPCC, so one of the smartest scientists in the world, who talked about what will be the level of the ocean in 2100, that will be more than 90 centimeters. And at the same time, at the same moment, all the scientists in US, Climate Central Institution, super serious, super famous, super serious, will say no. According to every calculation we made, the level of happiness will be 2.9 meters up. So it was for me a way to, it was for me a kind of conclusion of the installation. And even as you mentioned, it was in the center of the exhibition. It was a way to know, okay, we know what our present looks like, but for the future, look, even the most smart scientists in the world, so do what you want, but do it. It was a very interesting collaboration because she took the mission of my psychologist when I was too anxious, about my advisor when I was completely lost, about my first client / visitor, explaining me that, okay, it's going to be too abstract. It's going to be too, we're going to bring maybe a bit more information. So it was a kind of open discussion between her and me. She didn't select the pieces. Some curator could do if I would be, I don't know, an artist or designer with many available pieces on this topic. And she arrived in my workshop and say, okay, let's show this one, this one, this one, and this one. It was not that way. It was, I decided to work with them just after we decided to show the State of the World project at Triennale. And I was just explaining her that, okay, but if I don't want to I just want to remake the exhibition, but to bring something new. So it was an open discussion about the way to make it. And sometimes when I was explaining, you know, during the process of an idea is something super fragile, super fragile. It's just like a super fragile newborn. It wants to live, but it's super fragile. And you need to get around you people you will take care of this idea, and to make the idea raise in good condition. And it's important not to be alone for that, and to be able to share with people you believe in the opinion. and to day after day to make the idea strong and strong and strong, and to turn the newborn into a young adult or at least a teenager, able to be in the middle of the Triennale museum, super prestigious museum, and to be alone. Okay, I'm strong. Let's open the door. Let the visitors come, and I'm strong enough to stand in front of them. But before that, it's something, yes, super fragile. It's always super fragile. The idea, the fantasy of the creator who gets the eureka idea, you know, I got the idea and their idea arrived, super strong, complete, doesn't exist. It's a fantasy, pure fantasy. The reality is not that. It's just a super fragile seed that you have to watering, but not too much water, not too hot, not too cold. You need to talk to it every single day. When the first leaves appear, touch it super smoothly. So you need to get confident people during this journey. What is the next? Basically, my journey, the first question, the word journey, my journey it's to step by step to remove any obstacle, to many barriers, everything that will be between the idea and its realization, any barriers between me and the final clients. So all my journey I've been and still doing to build my independence. We were talking about this project, Inventory of Life, that could be have done if I would wait for a client or a commission or financial from institution or blah, blah, blah. What I want to do, and here I'm talking to you in my what I call my factory, that is a large building where everything is included in. There is my team, my workshop, my storage, our showroom. So step by step, I don't want to wait a gallery. I don't want to wait a client. I don't want to wait a go from anyone. I want to, if I feel this idea deserves to exist, if I feel that this is the right moment to make it, let's make it.